Reverend Jackie Hawkins.
Hello. Good morning. It is so good to be back. So good to be back. And I so thank you for your prayers over these last 2 years. I believe my friend and your senior minister, Reverend Ken, probably shared with you that I was having some health issues. And it is it's an anniversary, 2-year anniversary, when they diagnosed me with multiple myeloma. And then several weeks, or I should say several months later, they diagnosed me with lung cancer. So your prayers brought me through some really challenging times. I am in full remission. And I am feeling fabulous. Oh, we are one. We are one. And we are here today and for the next several days to honor the voice of love, the voice for change, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You know, it's interesting that Dr. King was not a unity person, but his message and his life was so much in line with what unity espouses. Our fifth principle says, knowing and understanding the laws of life, also called truth, are not enough. We must live the truth that we know. Martin Luther King lived the truth that he knew. And he shared that truth with us. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, said that love is the greatest harmonizing power in the universe. And Martin Luther King was about love. And Dr. King's words, he said, love is the most durable power in the world. It is the most potent instrument available in mankind's quest for peace and security. Dr. King was about love. He was about a strength to love. And so we know that God is love. We know that God is the source of all good. But you know, in our day-to-day thinking and experiencing, we sometimes forget, don't we? We forget this truth. But I love what Hafiz says. He says, sometimes I forget that I was created for joy. My mind is too busy, my heart is too heavy for me to remember that I have been created to dance, the sacred dance of life. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up, and to lift others up. O sacred one, untangle my feet from all that ensnares. Free my soul that we might dance. That we might dance. dance, and that our dancing might be contagious. Yes. Love is that divine energy. That divine energy within each of us that prompts us to dance, that prompts us to heal, as well as create, that harmonizes as well as plays the melodies of life. And while it may not be visible, the voice of love is calling each of us to honor what we have, to creatively use our talents, our time, our treasure to uplift, to create, to serve, to bring joy, even in the midst of despair. It is our personal and our collective responsibilities to heal, to harmonize, and to create rather than destroy. Martin Luther King Jr. gave voice to love. He listened and he followed his inner guidance, his divine love energy. In his work as author, minister, teacher, leader, orator, and what a powerful orator he was, and social activist, he understood love to be his most effective means to communicate his messages for justice and peace. Love was his most potent instrument to use to communicate his message of justice and peace. Dr. King was only 35 years old when he received the Nobel Peace Prize for his extraordinary works and demonstrated accomplishments. At that time, he was the youngest person to receive that prize. And in his acceptance speech, he said, "Sooner or later, all people of the world will have to discover a way to live together in peace and thereby transform this pending cosmic elegy into a creative psalm of brotherhood. It is to be achieved. If it is to be achieved, man must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love." His eloquence, his voice, and the divine essence that he exuded inspired millions. And my father, who was a minister, as Ken indicated in the introduction, he inspired my father in his leadership. And as a civil rights leader, my father served in a small town in Texas, Longview, Texas. In East Texas, for those of you who may not know Texas. But it was a small town in Longview, Texas. And as a result of my personally knowing Dr. King as my minister, as Ken indicated, when I was a young student at Spelman, and living through the trauma of his assassination and healing through that trauma, I am here in this place, in this space, to share with you his voice of love, my voice of love. And that voice of love is a voice for positive change. In May 1967, just 4 months before I met Dr. King and before he became my minister, he wrote in a letter, and I quote, "Sometimes conscience dictates that you take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but you must take it because it is right." Those words have echoed through my mind for more than 55 years. So you know about how old I am. It's no secret. I'm proud of it in every gray hair that I have. The loving thing to do may not always be the popular thing to do, nor the politic thing to do, but it is always the right thing to do. Former President Jimmy Carter lost his reelection because, in part, he honored and lived those words. But you know, his post-presidency accomplishments, including winning the Nobel Peace Prize, will live on forever. My father, like Dr. King, showed me when I was a young girl the importance of loving my neighbors as well as myself, and even loving my enemies. And Dr. King was a powerful affirmation of what my father taught me, that you cannot return hate for hate and expect justice. You can't. As Martin Luther King said in his book, Strength to Love, returning hate for hate multiplies hate. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Only love. During the many times that he was jailed for living his truth, Dr. King made the following prayer request. And I quote, "Even though convicted, we will not retaliate with hate, but will still stand with our love in our hearts and stand resisting injustice with the same determination with which we started out." Of course, one thing that we are depending on from not only other communities, but from our own community is prayer. We ask people everywhere to pray that God will guide us, pray that justice will be done and that righteousness will stand. And I think that through these prayers we will be strengthened. It will make us feel the unity of nation and the presence of Almighty God. For as we said all along, this is a spiritual movement. End of quote. The voice of Dr. King was a voice of love, and through it, a voice for change. I knew him to be and to live a life of purpose And that purpose was to right the wrongs of society that existed in the 20th century. Well, my friends, it is now the 21st century. And while much progress has been made through the changes facilitated by Dr. King and many others, there is still much love to share. Wouldn't you agree with me? There is still much love to share. Every day it is my intention to focus my life on love. That was left, this legacy left by my father and Dr. King and many others. I believe it is my duty to spread love's message. I am here and you are here to uplift people and their consciousness. I am here to promote an understanding that we are all here to help one another and to love one another. And when I remember this and practice this, remembering is one thing, practicing is another, yes? But when I do, my life is better. And although I may not see it, I know that the lives of others are better. Well, here's another person. Maya Angelou understood her role as a voice of love. She remembered how to love and to uplift others through her prose, her dance, her poetry, her social activism. And so I invite you to listen to one of her encouraging and uplifting poems titled Continue. My wish for you is that you continue. Continue to be who and how you are, to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness. Continue to allow humor to lighten the burden of your tender heart. Continue to allow in a society dark with cruelty, to let the people hear the grandeur of God in the peals of your laughter. Continue to let your eloquence elevate the people to heights they had only imagined. Continue to remind the people that each is as good as the other and that no one is beneath nor above you. Continue to remember your own young years and look with favor upon the lost and the least and the lonely. Continue to put the mantle of your protection around the bodies of the young and defenseless. Continue to take the hand of the despised and diseased and walk proudly with them. In the high streets, some might see you and be encouraged to do likewise. Continue to plant a public kiss of concern on the cheek of the sick and the aged, and affirm and count that as a natural action to be expected. Continue to let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer, and let faith be the bridge you build to overcome evil and welcome good. Continue to ignore no vision, which comes to enlarge your range and increase your spirit. Continue to dare to love deeply and risk everything for the good thing. Continue to dare to love deeply and risk everything for the good thing. Continue to float happily in the sea of infinite substance, which set aside riches for you before you had a name. Continue. And by doing so, you and your work will be able to continue eternally. Unity's fifth principle. It's not enough to know the principles. You must put our stated principles into action. Maya put her principles into action. Martin put his principles into action. I say to you today that we are the voice of love and the voice for change, and we are here to put our principles into action. And so today, we honor the extraordinary legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a voice of love who left us a legacy of love and service.